Hey guys, let's do another lesson on completing the square today. But this time it's a little bit different because we're going to do this where a is not equal to 1. Remember our first step was to make sure that a equals 1, and it was easy because a was always equal to 1. Well, now we need to figure out what we need to do about it when it's not. So here's an example. I've got 2x squared plus 12x minus 5. Now remember what we tried to do whenever we thought, oh, I need to split the middle term? We tried to factor the a term out. So I tried dividing everything through by 2. Now I know what you're thinking, that 5 can't divide by 2, but it can. It'll be a decimal value, and we're going to need to do it. Whether it's a decimal number or a whole number, we're going to factor out the a. So that's our first step. I'm going to set up some square brackets here just to show clearly, because I'm going to have some brackets in between as well. I want to show clearly that this 2 has been factored out of all 3 terms, not just out of the x squared, not just out of the first 2 terms, but also out of the negative 2.5, because later I'm going to want to multiply it back through and I don't want to miss anything out. Okay, the reason we've done that though is so that we have a nice quadratic inside those square brackets where we can split the middle term following steps 2, 3, and 4, same as before. So let's go on to step 2. Set up a set of brackets to be squared with x as the first term. Now, this is going to work to make x squared now, because you know that x times x makes x squared. If I hadn't factored the 2 out first, there is no way that this is going to give me 2x squared. Okay, so I'm just trying to make the quadratic that's inside the square brackets. So x is the first term. What's the next term? Step 3. Half b and make this the second term. So half of 6, that's positive 3 plus 3. Okay, step 4, work out what b divided by 2 squared is. So this is b divided by 2, so this squared. And subtract that from the value of c outside the brackets. Okay, the value of c is this decimal value. We're just going to go ahead and put that outside the bracket, so minus 2.5, and I'm going to subtract 3 squared from it. Okay, same as before, the only difference now is that I have this 2 out front and those squared brackets. And they should be squared brackets because you see all the brackets I'm accumulating in here. I want to make sure that these ones are different. Okay, so just like before, we're going to simplify this. I can square the 3. This is going to be a constant, and I can group my constant terms together. So that's going to be minus 2.5 minus 9. Everything else was the same. Minus 2.5 minus 9 is minus 11.5. Everything else is the same. And then to get rid of these really confusing looking square bracket, multiply the 2 through. I don't need to multiply into this bracket, but I'll just put it in front so that once I square the bracket, I could then multiply the answer by 2. But I am going to multiply the 2 by the 11.5, the negative 11.5. Okay, so that's going to be 2 times this squared bracket, and I did 2 times the 11.5 gave me 23. Okay, this is my completed square now. The only thing different from before is that I now have some value in front of the square bracket. We can check that to make sure that that does equal to this, and we should because this looks very different from what we've got up above. So let's multiply this out. Expanded it out. We've got 2 times, and then I've expanded out my brackets. I've done x plus 3 times x plus 3. I didn't just square the x and square the 3, because doing that I would miss out this middle term, which was x times 3 and 3 times x. Gives me my 6x. And I've got my minus 23 on the end. I don't need to multiply that through by the 2 because I already have up here. But I do need to multiply this bracket through by 2. So 2 times the x squared, 2 times the 6x, and 2 times the 9. Right now I just need to simplify. I've got my 2x squared. Perfect. I've got my 12x. Great. I'm just going to group together my 2 constant, my 2 number terms, and that will make negative 5, exactly as I wanted. Right, let's try one more example, and maybe you want to hit pause and try it on your own, but it's a little bit different. Here we've got 5x squared plus 3x minus 15. Again, the number in front of the x squared term, the a, is not equal to 1, so we need to factor it out. You're looking at these terms and you're thinking, I can divide that by 5. I can't divide that by 5. Yes, you can. It will be a decimal value, but it's a nice terminating decimal. It will work really well. Don't worry about it. If you want to hit pause and try it on your own, do. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep working through. So factoring out that 5, square brackets, 5x squared divided by 5 is just x squared. 3x divided by 5, 3 divided by 5 is 0.6. It is a decimal value, but it's terminating a decimal value. It's not difficult to work with. So 0.6x. And negative 15 divided by 5 is negative 3. Okay, now I've got a quadratic inside this squared bracket here, where I've got an x squared term with no number in front of it. So I'll go ahead and on step 2, set up a set of brackets to be squared with x as the first term, inside my squared brackets where I've got the 5 out front. Okay, ready to go. If I square this, it's going to give me the x squared. What's the number that needs to come after it? Step 3, half of b, half of this decimal value. It is a decimal value, but we can half it nice and easy. Half of 0.6 is positive 0.3. Okay, step 4, work out what b divided by 2 squared is. Work out what this squared is. You can use a calculator. Please do, because I know there's going to be place value mistakes if you don't. And subtract this value from the value of c outside the brackets. So I'll put minus 3 here, and then I'm going to subtract. I know a lot of you think it's 0.9. It's 0.09. 3/10 times 3/10 becomes 9/100. Okay, and then we'll simplify our constant terms. That's going to be minus 3.09. Now I've got this 5 outside these square brackets, and to be able to drop those square brackets, I need to put the 5 in front of my completed square, this bracket that's being squared here, but I do need to multiply it through by the constant term. So 5 times negative 3.09, which is negative 15.45. There's my completed square. Again, looks very different from what we started with, so it's a good idea just to multiply that through and check that we did that correctly. So let's do our check. I'm going to expand this bracket out, this one that's being squared, and again, I didn't just do x squared and 0.3 squared, I multiplied it through. So I did x times x would make the x squared, x times the 0.3 makes the 0.3x, 0.3 times x makes 0.3x, which together made the 0.6x, and 0.3 times 0.3 made the 0.09. And then, of course, my minus 15.45. Now I need to multiply what's inside this bracket through by 5. I don't need to multiply this through by 5 because you see I did it already up here. So that's going to be 5x squared plus 3x plus 0.45 minus 15.45. I can already see this is looking good. I've got the 5x squared, I've got the 3x, and if I'm lucky, if I've done this correctly, I should have minus 15. And I do. Okay, on to some practice. Try completing the square for these ones. They are all quadratics with an x squared term, an x term, and a number term, and they all have some value in front of the x squared. So you're going to need to start with those square brackets, factoring that value out. As always, the first row is a little bit easier. You might notice why. When I want to factor out 2, when I want to factor out 3, when I want to factor out 2, I thought that was going to be easier. Okay, the next line is a little bit more challenging. As you can see, it's a little bit harder to factor it out, but we are able to do it. We are able to work with decimal values. And the last row, that one should be okay. This one, you're going to need to multiply it out because this is not a completed square format. It's some bracket times a different bracket. So you need to multiply it out, get it into a format like this, and then follow the 4 steps we had from before. This one as well. Multiply it out first, get it into the quadratic format, and then complete the square. Okay, so hit pause now if you need some time to get through this, and the answers are coming up in just a moment. Okay, I hope you've hit pause. Here come your answers. For the first row, and the second row, and the third row. Okay, so check yourselves over. If you have any mistakes, see if you can figure them out for yourself, or please let me know. If I've made any mistakes here, please let me know as well. And otherwise, I hope that's all gone well. Well done, guys.